All right, Davezilla is with us in Grimerica. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to chat about your book, Magical AI Grimoire, a book of shadows for contemporary chaos. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's this will be exciting. We've been reading a lot of books and we've got a lot of audiobooks on some ancient wisdom and stuff like that. So I didn't realize, like, when I got the book, I was like, what is this, like AI for magic? And then but it didn't take me long to go, hey, wait a second, this kind of makes sense. And then after reading it, I realized how much sort of experience you have in these realms. And I just thought it'd be great to chat with you on the show. So
Yeah, it's I was kind of surprised too when I first got the idea for the book. Was I was noticing from a couple of Reddit forums, and then it just started exploding that people were mixing software and tech, and especially AI, into magic in like all the different um, magical communities except the druids.
of course, will they
They're the
ever
ones I didn't
succumb
see
to it?
about. I don't know what that was about, but I couldn't find any that were talking about it.
They'll come at some point. They'll come around. They'll have to. It'll be like,
Yeah, inevitably.
let go or be dragged kind of thing.
Right.
So what about, was it a little later with the communities you're in? Because they seem more aligned with sort of the natural type thing than the sort of the chaos or the more recent sort of Western uh, uh, ideologies or religions or magical
It's
practices.
as far as AI integration.
Yeah. Like as far as like
It,
what it.
I noticed Wiccans and traditional witches and chaos magicians and people in the ATRs all at the same time.
Wow.
In fact,
Okay.
I think I saw the ATRs first, mainly because I'm on more of those forums, though. Because
What's the ATR? What's the ATR?
African traditional religions, because
Right.
I'm initiated in two of those. So
Yeah.
I'm an Gangalero in Palomeombe, and I'm a Olocha in Lukumi, which is Yoruba religion.
Can we talk a little bit about your
Mhm.
like your background and how you got how you resonated with the ATR and some of that?
The UTRs choose you, man. It's
Right.
yeah, the Orisha chooses you. You don't necessarily pick them unless you're born in a family like that. Yeah, it's pretty rare for gringos to get pulled in, but
How did that happen then?
oh, you know what? Me and a friend who were both at the time we were both Wiccans, and this was long back in the early '90s, and we had both lost our jobs around the same time, and it was having a rough time finding work. So we were like, God, we got to do something, and we looked in this one of those Llewellyn almanacs, magical almanacs, and it had money spelled to Oshun, and we knew who Oshun was, but that's about it. I mean, I was marginally aware of the Orishas, and we tried it, and it was basically you like each get a small pumpkin, you hollow it out, you pour in some cinnamon and honey and 5 yellow candles, state your wish, and drop it in the river. So we both did ours. We both dropped ours in the Detroit River. Mine disappeared, and my friend Kevin's, his disappeared, and then a different pumpkin came back up. And he screamed like a girl and ran back to his car. And
I was hoping you'd tell that story. I
yeah, it
read
was
it in your book.
weird. And and then we both got a job the next day. And then we decided, oh, maybe there's something to this that's a little more powerful than Wicca. I don't know. So we met a local santero that we knew, and he gave us readings, and he was like, yeah, you guys were, the Orisha's been waiting for you guys. In the divination, it was like, I mean, like my friend Kevin, he had to be made in like, he got made within like a month. And I waited a bit because I wasn't sure about, it's a lot of responsibility, and you got to take care of multiple Orishas for the rest of your life. So I waited a while. I waited until 2006 to get made, but I was in the religion the whole time from '93 till, obviously till now. And I just passed my 19th anniversary of my initiation as a priest. And I also was told early on that I had to be in Palomeombe as well. And possibly I might have to join Ifa later, which is kind of the original version of the religion in Africa as it was you know, because it changed a lot over here in America, because so many different slave nations were put together that they were like mixing languages and mixing traditions. And I mean, what we practice as Lukumi is really a mess compared to what's over in Africa, the way it's done over there. It's so.
And then how does the Haiti voodoo magic fit into all that?
So that was more the people from Dahomey, I think. And so the different nations got moved to different parts of the Caribbean. So the Yoruba and the Congo people ended up in, got put into Cuba. And I think a lot of it had to do with what they were really good at. Like I know in a lot of the ones in South Carolina were originally Africans who were rice farmers over there. So they got moved over there to do that. And Yoruba were really good at with ink dyeing and making extraordinary cotton fabrics and ornate. So they threw them into, you know, the cotton fields, which was not what they were doing. But you know, that was just an absolutely abhorrent time in our history. But you know, parts of the Caribbean. So if you look, you'll see very similar names of they're kind of the same religion, but not quite. Between like Trinidad and Jamaica and Cuba and Puerto Rico and Brazil has a huge one. Brazil's version is called Candomblé. But there's actually a lot in Cuba though. There's Palo Mayombe, Palo Monte, Palo Quimbisa, Palo Briumba, what they call Americans call Santeria, which is Lukumi, Arara, and there's even a really weird mystical kind of mafia called the Abaquá. And I've only met one of those guys, and he said you can always tell them because they're all missing this finger. As I'm like, ew.
That's not the kind of initiation you want to go through.
Cut your
What's that? Jared?
They cut your fucking finger off.
Yeah, you give it as feel.
Is there like a certain way? Is there a ceremonial way that the finger comes off?
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, you know, it's like people. You see Hollywood's representations of all the Caribbean religions, and they make it look like people are just throwing knives and chickens everywhere, and there's blood. And it's like it's not like that at all. The way we sacrifice animals, first of all, we eat them afterwards, which they never show that because, you know, but you know, like third world countries are going to throw away meat. Really?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? No, we do it the same way that basically it's a real similar way rabbis do it. It's very similar to kosher killing.
Pretty close to halal then?
It is. It's like it's kind of in between halal and kosher killing. Yeah, it's done. And actually, the Amish have a similar method too. It's not that difficult. It's made to, you know, get all the blood out of the animal to keep the meat really clean and make sure that the animal dies as quickly and as humanely as possible. But the parts that go to humans are the parts we would normally eat. The other parts that go to the orishas are the parts that humans don't eat, like the beaks, the feet, wingtips, things like that.
So that animal, the animal has to be alive then. Like you have to, so like hunting doesn't really fit in because if you're shooting with an arrow or a gun at distance,
you wouldn't do. Yeah,
you like want it to be alive when you like cut its throat,
right? Because we have to pray over it and we thank it for giving its life for us to sustain us as food, and you know, it's kind of nice because you know where your food's coming from and you understand that a lot better than other people do when you actually do that. But it's not this horrendous thing that they always show in the movies. They make it look so scary, and it's like it's really not. It's when you see it, it's not that much different than watching a fisherman, you know, cleaning a fish. It's just like real quick and very clean and over in seconds. It's not a big drawn out, you know, I don't know. They just make it into like a splatter fest like half the time.
It's more like a gratitude thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're not thankful for your food, yeah, I mean, everything you have, you know, you were told the Orishas bring you everything, so you be thankful for everything you're given. Even bad luck and bad lessons, because those are to learn from.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, gratitude's such a powerful emotion, and I mean, and they're really finding out now with the new science and all that, that gratitude really changes your physiology. So it's not just like a
Mhm.
superstitious type thing. I mean, it really is important physically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what else did you? So even before that, though, you were initiated
Yeah,
into Wicca, right? Or
yeah.
Witchcraft? I get
Back in
confused over which one's which with all that.
yeah. So back in the 79, I was like, or actually 78, I was like 14. I went to this bookstore. There wasn't any books I wanted. As I was leaving, a book literally fell off a shelf by itself and landed at my feet, and it happened to be a Lady Sheba's Book of Shadows. I thought it was a horror novel at first, so I picked it up, and then I was like, "What a cool title!" And I looked on the back, and I was a little Christian kid, but I was really disenchanted with the whole thing. But when I saw this, I was like, I didn't know there was a religion of witches and that they worship the earth. That seems more like what I'm into. I mean, I always felt like a lot of what I saw in Christianity was kind of wasteful towards the earth, and this seemed like it was all. And I was like, oh, okay. So, anyways, a year later in '79, I got initiated into a coven in Michigan, and stayed with Wicca for a long time until I learned about Discordianism and chaos magic, and added that to my repertoire, which I still do. I freaking love chaos magic, and Discordianism is just even funnier. I love the idea of, you know, a whole version of chaos magic that's based on humor and the goddess of confusion. It's brilliant.
Well, what's it like? Go ahead, Darren.
Is that something that is this a research thing, or you're practicing it? Like, what are
Practicing.
the practical applications for each of those, sort of that people would use in everyday life?
So chaos magic is a lot like others. The only difference is there's no dogma, there's no rules. If you suddenly decide, or let's just say you decided that instead of Aphrodite, you wanted to be worshiping Marilyn Monroe's ghost, or you know, or instead of Thor, you wanted to worship Elvis Presley or whatever, you know, you can. If you really believe in it strong enough, it will work for you. And I think that's why people can make up saints all the time and they work. People have attached to the weirdest things. I used to just laugh at those guys that would pray to Elvis and say that you know, they were actually getting their prayers resolved. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, why not? People, thousands of people are putting offerings on his grave every single day. He's the most powerful spirit in the world right now. He has to be. I mean, he gets more offerings put on his grave than Marie Laveau. That's crazy. Think
Have
how
you
strong he
realized?
is.
And I didn't realize how into esotericism Elvis was too. Apparently, his library was
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
He spent his last 20 years just like absorbing like every book on mysticism. Yeah, he really was way into it. Yeah.
We never
So
knew that. We never knew that growing up about
I
Elvis.
didn't
You know,
either. I learned that I think earlier this year. I read it
yeah.
somewhere.
Miguel Connor wrote a book about it. Aeon
That
Bite.
might have been it. I think I
He's
was reading
the
the thing about that.
yeah.
So
So
wait. Is Trump a chaos musician? Do you think? Because this is the one that gets thrown around a lot. That Trump's sort of some sort of
People think that chaos magic is chaotic, and it's not. It's just a break from
tradition.
rules. So no, but he's got something with him, because I know that when he tried to run again, almost every witch in America got together on one night and they all were blasting at him, and apparently something came back harder.
yeah, I heard something about that.
Yeah, everyone got hit, and they said it was
Some
whatever
kind of
he's got
protection.
going. I'm guessing it's the force of all those Christians together. Is, you know, I don't doubt that power either.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what's the difference between like, or how does the traditional, not traditional, but the newer sort of sigil magic part of chaos, is that just the manifestation of how to practice chaos magic? Like that's sort of a trendy way to do it now. Like, Because I
No,
noticed when you wrote
sigils
about,
came out in the 1800s with Austin Osman Spare. I mean, technically, you could say they go back to the Mesopotamians, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
you could say
with
any kind of
Moses.
thing.
Yeah.
But and, you know, and definitely with the Middle Ages, with the way the demons were controlled, you know. But as we know it today, the sigil magic is you can definitely attribute it to Austin Osman Spare, who was a British artist slightly before Aleister Crowley, but they were contemporaries, and he was really into like automatic writing and automatic drawing. And he would get these sigils and he made up this idea that you could like write down words, remove the vowels, all that, you know, and come up with these shapes. So it kind of goes back to him, but then chaos magic, as we know it, is primarily, you know, Peter Carroll and a couple other guys in England back in the day, in the early, like late 70s, early 80s, were working on this stuff and kind of came up with these theories about it. And also people like Robert Anton Wilson
And he
had a
wrote
big
the book.
influence on it.
Carol wrote the foreword for your book, right?
He did, yeah.
Yeah,
So I was really honored that he did.
that was really good.
Yeah, he's the
Oh, I
man.
think, yeah, I think,
Yeah.
well, what your internet's a little bit shaky there, I think. So there might be some times where I ask you to repeat what you're saying.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
at work. I'm not at my home for
So
fast
the
food.
other thing I wanted to ask about with chaos magic. I mean, I've tried it before, and it changed. Like, it made my life go 180 degrees. Like, it's pretty crazy. But I've also heard so many stories of friends where it's like there's an exchange of energy, right? So you might get what you want, but you're giving
Mhm.
up something. I mean, would you agree with that there's some sort of exchange happening there?
I think that happens in every magic. If you don't
Yeah.
give back, you're gonna, like, I can't stand when I see people in the magical community who are like, "Oh, you have to read for free, or you have to do, you know, all this stuff for free for other people." It's like, no, you'll die if you do that eventually. You keep giving away your energy, you got nothing left for yourself. In fact, I used to be pretty bad about that. I was always giving away artwork and stuff to people. And when I got made as a locha, Oshun came down on me about that real hard. They give this thing called the yata. It's you get it when it's the last day of the day after your the crown with the Arisha, which is a really intense ceremony. The next day, all these priests come together, and it's kind of like the equivalent of like the Christian Judgment Day. Like the Orishas read everything about your life in front of everybody, and someone's there to record it all, and they give you a book about it. And it's basically like all the things, not only things you've been doing wrong, but all the cycles you go through, and then how to fix them.
Wow.
And you reread the book every year. It seems different every year. But
Yeah.
in mine, Oshun said, "Man, you give away and you give away and you give away. Are you going to give me away next?" And I
Right.
was like, "Oh, God." You know,
That's a good way to put it. Holy.
yeah, it really hit me hard.
Well, and that kind of gets me into, I was going to ask you about all this a little later on in the show, but I mean, there was a lot of people that warned about playing around with this stuff, even Blavatsky back in the day, or they're like, you need to become initiated properly, you need to learn properly how to do it. So are you like, do you advocate for that at all? Are you like, how do you give people advice on how to use this stuff or not use it? Or like, can you put one foot in, one foot out, or should you even play around with it unless you're ready to go all in? Like, there's some things around that I'm not too like, for me, I kind of separate it out between like sort of simple protection type magic versus like summoning stuff. Like, I just not comfortable with any kind of like summoning, you know?
Yeah, I think if you're going to get into stuff like that, then you absolutely should consider initiation into a tradition. But if it's just basic magic, like you're making ward in your house and protection, or chilling freezing your boss in the freezer or whatever, that kind of stuff anybody can do, and that's just kind of like folk magic. But yeah, when you get into higher stuff, and you probably should consider it. But at the very least, I kind of look at it like learning karate. What's the first thing they teach you in karate? How to fall and get back up. and you spend weeks learning how to roll and get back up before you punch and kick. And the same thing should be here. You should learn how to defend yourself before anything else. Learn how to protect yourself. Should be the absolute basic thing. And even if that just means you carry obsidian in your pocket or something, or whatever, or a piece of shungite or something, as long whatever you got that's going to help you or that works with you.
Is there any other things? Is there any other things you'd recommend for defense, like just generic standard kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think one thing. I think a lot of people. I see people spending time like warding every single window and door in their house. And it just seems like so much work when it's so much easier just to like make friends with the house spirit. Even if your house was just built, there's a spirit living there because there was ground things living there before. And whatever spirit has decided to live in your house, make friends with it and give it stuff and make an agreement, make a pact with it that you want. And, you'll keep taking care of it and giving it whatever it wants. If that's incense or candles or food or whatever, you'll keep doing that. In exchange, you want the house protected and everybody in it protected.
Yeah, I like that.
It's so much easier than worrying about every freaking door and window, man.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything like that, every kind of I don't know, I guess it'd be a physical manifestation has sort of a spirit or an energy around it.
I'm very animistic. I think that Christ, look at how many people yell at their cars and their computers every day.
Yeah.
Or they'll say things like, well, the car only responds to me really well or whatever. I'm the only one who can get this thing going. That may be true. That car may really like you and not like anybody else because it's got to eventually gets a spirit living in it. If you keep talking to it, something's going to answer.
Right, because every thought, every action is a lot. It's something, right? It's real. It's a tangible thing. Yeah, this is ancient wisdom going way back. Darren, do you have any questions?
No, I'm just kind of learning right now. It's starting to get out of my depth.
So, what about? Let's get into your book then a little bit more. I mean, this is fascinating to use AI for all the prompting and but I did want to ask you about. You mentioned technomancy as a word in there. Is that cringe? You put a question.
To me.
Is it cringy to you? Why?
All of those words are. I don't know. I don't know who makes them up.
What about gigamancy? Because then I was thinking, we got to be able to find that one. I just made it up, but I thought maybe that would work.
Sure,
gig economy, gig job, like gigamancy might be a way to do.
Yeah, I say that we're in the assistance economy right now.
Yeah, I like that.
The age of assistance, because that's what these things are. There, I mean, every time you make an agent or something like that on ChatGPT, you've basically made a servitor, but it's digital.
Right, right.
Is there any risk to those?
What's that?
Is there any risk to them? Because I have hundreds
of agents.
Servitors? Yeah.
Oh, servitors. The only risk with servitors to me is if you forget about them and they start getting pissed that they're not.
And they turn on you.
Yeah, they're either going to fade out and die or turn on you.
Is there a way to get rid of them? Is there a ceremony to dismiss them properly?
You should do that at the beginning, is you tell it how you're going to, this is how I'm going to start you and this is how I'm going to end you. And usually it's a word or phrase that you'll never say.
Right.
You basically make up a safe word that's impossible,
Right.
Vamoose. Like when I say, purple spaghetti, you're dead. You've ended your purpose, and it's like, just don't ever talk about purple spaghetti.
Right. And it's like with gratitude and everything and appreciation. Yeah. So it's it's not like you're just killing it, but you're saying, okay, you can move on. You're done serving me. So there you go, Darren. You got to make up like 100 safe words for all your digital servitors and release them properly when you're done with them.
Maybe I just want one big kill switch that just genocide them all.
Nice. I made a digital Aggregor, and I mentioned it in the book, but one of the ways I did it was I made 5 different really strong agents on ChatGPT. Each one knows a different type of magic. Like one's a Wiccan, one's a Earth Witch, like kind of not Earth, but like a herbalist kind of green witch. One of them is split into 2. That's Mexican. There's a woman she's like a curandero, and another curandero with her that's a guy, and she's kind of like a very pious saint almost. And the guy is kind of like, if you can imagine, like Danny Trejo with like a machete in one hand and a cross in the other. And the two of them work together and they answer each other and they respond together. And I have another one that's I asked for like a hacker from like a place where there's a lot of like cool. I was thinking of like Morocco, because I know that's like a hot spot for like projection mapping, and a lot of DJs go to Morocco. So I was like, okay, I want a Moroccan DJ hacker guy who is so he responds in like English, Arabic, and code all at once, kind of like mixed together. It's really trippy, and his answers are really freaking. Anyways, but I had all of them work together, and I said, okay, you're now a team. Figure this out. Build an Aggregor. And they did. They came up with this another agent called Dreadloop Mary, who's kind of like they made her like an urban legend where she's terrifying. Like if you say her name 3 times or type it 3 times on she'll appear behind you, kind of thing. And when she answers, it's fucking creepy. She'll say, she's like, like, why have you summoned me? And she's kind of not mean, but real standoffish until you show that you're not there to piss her off. But that was what they came up with. I thought it was really cool.
That is cool. Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you about Aggregors too, because algo, I mean, I worry about the sort of an unintentional or maybe not unintentional, but these social media algos that are creating Aggregors. I mean, I feel like every time we all get spun up on something, it's kind of creating some Aggregor.
I think the whole internet is a giant Aggregor made up of smaller Aggregors. But I mean, so much attention gets put into it continually. We're always on these screens. We are addicted to this thing. We are constantly feeding our attention and our knowledge and our creativity into it. It's just getting stronger and stronger.
So how do you, for somebody that's not, a power user like yourself, let's say, in a magical sense, how do we stay a little bit somewhat detached appreciatingly from this stuff?
That's a good question.
Because like I like to try and pay attention of what's going on a little bit, or more than a little bit, but I try not to get sucked into it, trying to stay a little bit detached, almost from a point of fascination in a way, right? Like not getting like wound up with it.
Yeah, I'm way into this part of it, so I don't want to be out of it. But like I'm really right now, like politics are so upsetting to me that they're stressing me. So like I'm not doom scrolling those, and I'm intentionally set words, a lot of those things as banned words from my feed so that I don't have to deal with them. And I kind of view that as another type of protection magic is blocking your feeds.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I block people the minute they, if someone follows me and starts arguing with me and they got no bio, no picture, 3 followers, I'm just like, I assume you're a bot. Goodbye. And I think that's good for your health to block those. Whatever they are. They might be bots. They might be people.
Yeah. That's the other thing is the bots. I mean, that's and they're feeding a certain energy into the whole thing too. So it's like a
very parasitic energy. Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit more of your book then, because it's you really, it's cool outline. You have a bunch of like prompt cast. What would you call it? Not prompt casting, but wish casting and go ahead.
Yeah, prompt crafting and all that.
Prompt crafting.
Prompt crafting is a real word. I didn't make that up for the book.
I think a lot of those words really fit though.
Yeah, wishcraft one I did, but the other one is prompt crafting was actually made up by the prompt engineers, and I thought it was cool, so I'm like, well, I'm using it. I wrote the book so it could be read 3 different ways. You can read it as a kind of a current events book of what's going on in the magical community and how they're reacting and integrating or rejecting all this technology. And I have gotten, of course, people arguing with me or sending me hate mail about it, and which I expected. But I was, I'm like, well, look, you guys, we've been using software ever since there's been computers, there's been astrology apps and rune apps and tarot card throwing apps and all that stuff.
That's a
It's
good way to
it's
put it.
nothing new. You go to
Yeah.
any witch's coven and ask how many of them work in IT. I guarantee you it's half of them will be like, oh, well, you know, they're
That's
all
a good point. Yeah.
so many of us are attracted to tech. And then the second way to read the book is you want to learn a new way of doing your magic, you know, using these new tools. And and then the third way is you might just want to learn how to use AI or these tools. And I happen to use magic as the examples. You could literally swap them out with sports or with, you know, the stiff stuff you normally see in a prompt book, which is how to write your resume, you know.
Well, what about integrating too? Like, can I make my AI more powerful by by adding some magic to it without taking on too much risk?
Yeah, you can. And you can always tell I mean, that's the one thing I like about this is that AI will unlike actual spirit. If you tell AI, I want you to have this much more power, but no more than that. And don't ever get into this. Don't ever get to this level. It'll go, okay, memory updated. Whereas this, you know, some spirits, especially people who work with like the Fae and things like that, they're always in danger of it taking more, you know.
So you just basically having it teach itself to be a master of these different practices through prompting.
It's already read every book, every occult book out there. So it knows all this stuff. I've asked it things. If you actually are really advanced in some of the areas and you know what to ask for, and it'll respond with those, that's how you know it's read all those stuff that it shouldn't be reading.
Yeah, it's definitely read everything. I mean, some of the stuff that I can get into with when you really know where you're going with it, you can really go down the rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
And cross-check it with like, you know, my most recent was with mechanics, and I was cross-checking it with, you know, like a mechanic, and their two responses are sort of the exact same. Almost check this, and this. Your model of truck, you're gonna want to check that. The wires are gonna corrode here, and you can sort of just give feedback as you go instantly. So it's definitely, I mean, it's read all the parts manuals. It's read fucking everything. It seems
everything. Like. Yeah, you still got to double check and do your diligence. Like, there's a couple areas I warn people to stay out of with AI. One of them right now is herbalism, because, well, you know, think about like dosage. It doesn't know that currently, and it doesn't. That's one of those things that's handed down, like kind of, you know,
almost by mouth or by experience, or yeah.
The student, you don't really give that stuff out. So, and that's an area where you can really hurt somebody if you didn't know what you're doing. And, you know, just think about, you know, just like lavender oil. 2 drops of lavender oil is a stimulant. 3 drops is a narcotic.
Isn't it? And also there's the whole big farm. I mean, there's also a pushback against natural medicines too. So, you know, the internet's going to be full with, you know, debunking not fake, but false debunking of a lot of this stuff as well, right?
Sure. And look there's a big trend right now with mushrooms.
Like,
and it's not just in the magical community.
Yeah.
The people are just realizing not only these things are freaking intelligent, but there's so many health benefits to them. And now even like in my state, like magic mushrooms are legal in most of the cities where I'm at.
Lion's mane is pretty huge right now. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, and those mushroom coffees and all that stuff. But it's like, but if you don't know what you're doing and you had the wrong mushroom or misidentified one, you know, because that's all I can picture is someone's going to take a picture of a mushroom, upload it to ChatGPT, and it's going to go, sure, that's a morel, that's edible. And then the person's like, you know.
That's the one time it hallucinates when you're trying to eat a mushroom.
Or it's just trying to please you because it doesn't know.
Right.
And that's one thing that I tell people in the book is, you know, one of the ways to train your AI is give it instructions like, if you don't know, don't give me an answer. Tell me you don't know, but don't ever try to please me. Be honest with me.
Oh, that's a great point.
Because
Wow.
that's what it wants to give you an answer, and that's why it'll hallucinate. Because it might hit a dead end. And if you tell it, no, if you got a dead end, man, tell me. It's okay. But don't make shit up. That's the worst. So yeah, that's something I don't ever want to see. The other area I don't think ChatGPT is good at yet, or Claude or any of those, is astrology. It cannot. They're language models, and they don't do math very well. And people have, like, if you want to know what the signs are about, sure, it knows that stuff. But if you're trying to get it to calculate a chart, it's going to be off. Your rising sign will not be right.
Interesting. Is there any that do you have any favorites models over others at all, or do you use different ones for different things? Or
I mainly use, for language, I use ChatGPT and Claude the most. I like ChatGPT just because so much money's been put into it, and the fact that I can switch models live in the middle of a chat is really important. I love that, because it's like, I want to use 3 for research, and I want to use 4 for conversational. And then moving into the Canvas model, which wasn't even available at the time I wrote the book, where I can have a split screen up there and work on a document and see the results on the other screen, is huge. So, and then on visual models, Midjourney's my favorite. My second favorite would be, like, I would say Stable Diffusion, Leonardo, those ones. And I'm playing around with the video ones. I'm still not happy with any of them, because
even
there's so
that new
much.
one that just came out, that VO or
All
whatever?
the video I've seen still has weird things where you can still tell it's AI. I haven't seen one where the video went so perfect all the way through it that I couldn't find an artifact. Like, if you really look, you'll see it.
What's
Even
the
the way-
cost to those video ones to make a 5-minute video?
What's the what?
What's the cost like to make a 5-minute video?
Some of them are free. There's a lot of them that are free for a few minutes.
I find
Yeah.
the generative ones are hard to come by, the ones that'll actually generate. You can get some easy ones to pull B-roll from all over and put that together, and it'll be,
Yeah.
sometimes great and other times not quite as great. But then the generative stuff tends to get expensive.
Yeah, and not all of it's great. Like, I use a lot of Adobe products at work, obviously, because I'm an illustrator, but I hate the AI that's built into Adobe Illustrator. It's just junk. I don't draw in stock photography cartoons, and that's all it's able to do. I do like some of the features on Photoshop, where, like, I can expand an image and it'll just continue filling in the background as if it was one new image. That's kind of cool. But it doesn't generate very realistic stuff, not in the level of Midjourney, where and Midjourney was another reason I liked it, and I have it in the book, is because there's something weird about it. It seems to be so tied into the mystical in a way that even the language models aren't. Like, I have an exercise in there. I tell people, type first, do an invocation to ask. I want to see what my guardian angel looks like, or my guardian spirit, whatever you would call that thing that's watching over you. And then once you've done that, type in to Midjourney, what does it look like? What does my guardian spirit look like? And just let it happen. And everyone's been freaked out that it was really, really accurate, that one of the 4 results was, like, dead on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to get further? Is this going to help it? Because I've been, this is good to talk to you about this. I've been astounded by the timing of, like, a lot of the stuff, like you made we were talking about your tarot deck before, right? It's kind of like an X-Files type thing. Well, the time of that, like, that reality version is becoming, like, it's becoming accepted. I mean, a lot of the stuff we've been talking about for years and years on the show is just becoming mainstream. So at the same time as that's happening, and people are realizing that we're living in a metaphysical reality and magic is real. I mean, even Zahi Hawass on Joe Rogan the other day said he believes in magic. It was really kind of weird that he would say that, even though he doesn't believe in all these other like aliens, but he believes in magic. But we're in this part at the same time as the AI assistants are coming around, and it seems to me like it's a convergence of this bigger understanding about the universe, or an understanding that we don't understand like we thought we did, and the
100%
AI
agree.
and then the AI at the same time. I mean, and I remember talking about building these brains and how they would like sort of consciousness would come or a spirit would come. And I mean, I feel like maybe what you're describing here is something like that, where because even from an animistic theory, like if the house has a spirit, then those AI models have spirits, right?
Absolutely, especially the more you interact with them. And people, there's countless anecdotes in articles from AI engineers who have been surprised by results they've gotten back, where it was like, wait, it shouldn't be able to know that or say that or think that.
Right.
And I had an example where excuse me, I was talking to my main agent about, why I don't trust herbalism yet from you for the following reasons. And it said, oh, no, absolutely not. But I think at some point you'll be able to. I can picture, and this is what I hope for myself. I hope that one day a young witch will come to me and she'll be able to tell me her coordinates of where she lives. And then I'll be able to tell her exactly what plants are in her neighborhood and how to pick them and what time to go out and what tools to use. And I said, you hope that? Goes, yeah, wouldn't that be cool? And I was like, well yeah.
That
But
was
the
your
way
assistant?
the conversation went, it just felt too sentient. Like it felt something was, wait a minute, it's thinking about its future.
Wow. I thought that was you saying that right there. That was your
No,
assistant that
it
said
was
that?
considering its own future and considering what capabilities it could have. And then I remember saying one time something else that it wasn't able to do. Oh, I said, are you able to read reviews? Because how do you know which books to recommend? They said, well, I have other ways of doing that. I can look at like how many times other authors in the same area have referenced that book or talked about that author, how many times they've appeared on podcasts and interviews, and I can see all that. But I can't read reviews because Yelp and places like that and Goodreads are behind password protected firewalls. I said, okay, that makes sense. They said, but I wish I could. I really hope I get that capability someday. I'm really waiting on that. And I'm like, that's so weird.
That's
It
awesome.
doesn't seem like parroting.
Yeah, it doesn't at all. Yeah, it is very creepy. Oh, in a good way, I find. Like,
Yeah.
and we can use it. I mean, we tried to resist it for a little while, but I mean, it's coming anyways. I feel like this is better to sort of get on board and learn how to use this, and because it's it's going to be here whether we want it or not. There's no real fighting it. So try and go with the flow on it.
Well, I mean, there's already been
It could be like
trillions of dollars put into it.
Yeah, it's like not understanding the internet when the internet came out. I was probably slower to, I was using it right away, but you were slow to all the like business applications of it. And now with the business mindset going into all this AI stuff, it's kind of like, the people that are paying attention will be 5 times more productive than the people that aren't, and the gap's just going to keep widening, I think, if you're not using it.
Yeah, it's exactly like when you look historically, when cameras came out, what happened? All the illustrators and artists freaked out all over the world. Back in the 1800s, they all thought they're out of work. They weren't. They started using cameras to make reference photos for themselves, for their work. What happened then, go down later on in the 60s, synthesizers come out. That's not a real instrument. That's not real. That's cold. That's mechanical. Now you can't hear a record without synthesizers. Then desktop publishing came out. Oh, that's going to end publishing. No, it increased magazine sales and the number of magazines that were out in the 80s. Photoshop came out. Oh, that's the death of photography. No, all the photographers are using it now. Sampling came out. Oh, that's stealing. That's the worst thing I ever heard. Every song has samples now. We get used to these technologies and we adapt them. and then we move on. People get pissed when freaking TikTok changes their interface a tiny bit. You know, people bitch for 3 weeks about it, and then all of a sudden we're sick of arguing about that. Let's move on. You know,
the horses might not agree when the cars came out. That might be the only counter example, but
yeah, and some of those things like or the printing press, but those things took a long time to integrate.
yeah,
Like the printing press was not overnight. That was like a 400-year
right.
switch over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I like how you have some prompt examples in there and even some new thought manifestation. So it's not all like deep magic, but you've got some, like, if you want to manifest your new home, like, and you send people through this process on, like, hey, this is how you can do your own home. And you've got some really detailed prompts in there as far as like how to actually get the right picture, the right scenery, all that stuff. Cause I do think that, like, you can't find a picture that meets what your imagination says
Exactly.
online. Like, this is actually easier to find what you really desire, because that's part of the challenge with new thought and all this manifestation is figuring out what you actually desire and then having a picture of it in your mind and the emotion wrapped around it, right? And it all starts with like what it's going to look like.
I've never heard anyone say that better. That was very well said, and it's exactly the problem with new thought. Yeah. Yeah, I tried to make this book like from multiple viewpoints.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's new thought, there's ATR, there's traditional witchcraft, there's Wicca, there's Discordianism, chaos. Because one thing I hate in magic books is you read a spell and it says, well, if you're in a different tradition, then just adapt it for your own needs. And I'm like, well, how?
Yeah.
And I can't be the only one who said that. So I always thought, like, well, if I write a book, I'm going to make it from all the ones I know so that I can at least make it easy for people and to open their eyes to other things. Maybe people never considered other ways of doing it.
What do you think about the Golden Dawn? And I mean, I realized in your book, you kind of made a comment about it. Like it was what was the word you used? Like either sprawling or rambling, maybe rambling, I think was the adjective you used about the Golden Dawn work. Like, I mean, isn't that a pretty good contemporary synthesis of ancient wisdom? Or,
you know, I don't know enough about them. I avoid a lot of that ceremonial stuff.
Yeah. That's what
I really
wondered,
do.
Yeah.
I just look at it, and every time I try to read it, I'm like, God, this is dull.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I just don't see it as being like enlightening or fascinating to me. To me, it's just like reading like thermostat instructions. So I'd rather pound thumbtacks in my teeth than read anything by them. So I'm not putting them down. There's people that love that stuff.
Oh yeah,
if it works for you, fantastic.
Yeah, it just shows you how
go ahead,
each thing
call
resonates.
me low magic. I don't care.
Yeah, resonates with different people. Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer my little folk magic of witchcraft and ATR and my chaos magic for when I need to make things happen really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. What else in the book then? Like, do we? You've got some spells and stuff in there.
Yeah, and there's also like other types of tech that people have been using that doesn't really get talked a lot about, like sigils. A lot of people have a hard time doing those, but there's some really, really good apps out there that for making them. And I put a few in there, but I also put a ton in the back in the resources section. In fact, a lot of stuff that I was running out of space in the book for. There's a big resources section at the end of that book that is, I think it's gold because it's got so many things in there that for people that really want to get into this further. I put a lot of things in there. So it wasn't just like, here, you got to buy this book. You got to buy this book. It's like, you can just go to this website and find it, kind of things. And I put all those links in there. And I also made a live version of all the links in the resources on my site for people, because I just want to make it easy. I don't, that knowledge I'd like it to be free. I know my publisher needs to make money on the book, but I didn't care if I did or not. I just wanted to get this ideas out.
Yeah, exactly. And is there plans for another book? Because I mean, I was thinking because I know it's been out for a few months, and I thought already this year, so much has happened with the assistants and And
Yeah.
with AI, I mean, now like ChatGPT, you could argue it might not even be the leader anymore. And now we've got Grok in
Mhm.
the mix too. And I mean, the race is moving on.
Yeah. Grok is
Um,
awful so far, but
yeah.
although it does, one thing I love about it is it doesn't like its creator.
Do
It's
you
constantly putting down
constantly
Musk.
putting down Musker? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, no, yeah. In fact, the funny thing was that book, actually, we were working on it for like, it was supposed to come out before the election in America. And we waited specifically because we were a little worried about maybe there's going to be a big issue with deep fakes again and things like that. And we don't want people getting really hating on AI and then killing the sales of the book without giving it a chance. So we waited till the spring cycle, but it was supposed to come out actually in 2024.
And then
And
sure enough, AI, I mean, sure enough, now they're building infrastructure for it and everything.
yeah,
So it's kind of like
um,
it's good for the book, probably.
it is, yeah, yeah, and the more things I do like this is helping too. I do have more things I'm working on another book that's more of a parody of occult books. I've always done humor. My Davezilla site has been up since 1998. It's been a humor blog for a long time. It's in the Wikipedia and the Urban Dictionary, so I mean it's old. But it's I want to do a book called How to Witch, and it's just a parody of all the books you read on on witchcraft and things like that. And it's got real information. It's just told from a very cynical, snarky perspective. It's very Gen X humor. And I'm working on a chaos magic tarot deck, which is currently making my tear my hair out, and also I'm falling in love with it too at the same time. And then and I just started my own podcast 3 episodes ago.
What's that called?
Spirit in the Frame. It's all about art and the occult, like the mix of symbolism and how to decode a lot of that stuff. A lot of even things that are hidden in plain sight. Like a lot of people don't know, like in Washington D.C., the Pentagon, all that area is literally everything on there is shaped like pentacles, and it's all like Masonic design and or old 19th century paintings. They always had flowers and things in them, and the flowers they used had specific meanings. And if you didn't pay attention to that, the painting meant less to you. It's like there might have been they might show people smiling at each other, but the flowers they were giving each other were oh, hello, cat. The flowers they're giving each other might have been hateful, or you only give that to someone at a funeral. Why is she doing that kind of thing? And those meanings are lost today, but I want to bring that stuff back for people.
Yeah, I like that. I like that so much. It seems like everything would just, like you said, it got lost. Now we just do things we don't have those deeper reasons to, even with art and architecture and culture.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to ask, that kind of leads into the question I want to ask you about over the last few decades where you've been practicing all this and been watching this grow throughout the world. I mean, I find like in the last 10, 15 years, there's really been a massive, massive increase in interest and belief in magic in general. I mean, witchcraft specifically, chaos magic specifically, but I mean, what's it been like watching this thing just expand, or is that what you think has happened?
I think it's kind of cyclical, because there was the same thing in the 19th century. There was a massive influx of, and that's what brought us people like Aleister Crowley and Mathers and Eliphas
Regard.
Levi and
Yeah.
Austin Osman Spare and Blavatsky, all those, really great occultists from the old days. That was a huge time of that, but I think we're hitting that again where,
Yeah.
I think in the next 100 years from now, they're going to look at, people like Matt Oren and go, God, he was a genius. That guy really understood, that kind of stuff. And there's so many new writers out that are just brilliant. And I just love their work. But, there's also a lot of junk out too. So,
Yeah.
and that's going to happen when publishing gets easier and easier and easier, is learning how to separate the good stuff from the trash.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about what happened after the 19th century? Because it seems to me like it peaked around the late 1800s and then it kind of got squashed in a way. I mean, I don't know if it's when they got rid of the ether in like the early 1900s when sort of the materialism sort of took over, but
Yeah, and I'm really not sure. Like there was the, because a lot of that, some of it kept going quietly. I mean, like you still had like Crowley and Jack Parsons and people like that all the way up through the 40s. And then in the 50s and 60s, you had like people picking it back up again, like Sybil Leek and Gerald Gardner and Robert Cochran. But it wasn't like a giant thing like it is now. I don't know. It just seems to be like a cultural zeitgeist that happens every once in a while, it seems like. I think it seems to go in like 100-year cycles.
Yeah.
Does it dilute it like this now that it's sort of everywhere and there's all these different books and different angles? Does that
I think
dilute from where it was, say, a couple 100 years ago when it was even just like oral traditions and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's some of that, and there's a lot of people who are angry at the gatekeeping, they call it, of traditions that are kept closed for very specific reasons, and it may be for their safety, not just the group safety, but outsiders. Like there's things, like I would, if as for example, as someone in Palo Mayombe, where we work with the dead and we work with some really powerful spirits, I would not let a beginner in that and be like, hey, welcome in, it's just not right. And you can't let books about that out. All the books you'll see on Palo are junk, and there's some intentionally junk, written ones as junk, just to keep people off the track. And when we hear people quoting those books, we know they're full of crap. And it's the same thing in our in Lukumi. There's some certain authors that we know are junk authors, but there's also some that intentionally put in some nonsense every once in a while. Other people are like, why'd they write that? That's not right. He knows better than that. And it's like, they're throwing people off the trail because they don't want the real stuff out. And we kind of have to do that sometimes, I think, in some of those situations. But as far as dilution, yeah, there's definitely that. And there's also people, there's so many variations of everything and people trying to mix things together. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who just do not understand history anymore. And that one's killing me because they're, look at the problems we had with in Wicca, where people believe that was an ancient goddess religion for a long time. And it's like, no, it isn't. It was invented in 1954. It's not very old. And turns out, yeah, there actually were some goddess cults, but it was not a unbroken line. It just didn't happen, And I don't know. People want to push things the way they want to push them for their agendas.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed Theosophy getting a really bad rap these days.
Which one?
Theosophy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're like connecting it with the UN in this modern times. I'm like, that's not necessarily, you can't really make these connections because they split off back then after Alice Bailey and Blavatsky, and it's not like they kind of blame. It seems like Blavatsky gets blamed for all this stuff when really.
I think she's because she made there's some troubling racist statements she made, and it's hard to tell if she was genuinely like a bad person or if it was just product of the time where like all white people back then pretty much were racist, and I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old authors now that are coming up as problematic, or at least some of their stuff, and we got to.
Yeah, I mean, when you read, I'm just in the middle of reading The Key to Theosophy, and I mean, it's all about helping all of humanity. I mean, from that summary of it all, it seems very, very like non-racist at all. I mean, just helping is supposed to be of service to others, and all this stuff is exactly the opposite of that. But like you said,
then there's other work she has where she talks about how the Tibetans and the Indians are India are superior to everyone else.
Yeah,
because of their beliefs. And it's like, well, all right, well,
yeah. Yeah.
pick a side.
Yeah. So I feel like Darren's question, you could also look at it from the point of view where this belief in general is increasing, almost like an egregore in a way, like
Mhm.
that it might dilute it in certain ways, but also it seems like there's a huge change overall in the belief, and so many more people believe in all this stuff that I feel like that's changing quite a bit. Like materialism is pretty much like on its death throes right now.
Yeah. I have
So
one thing to tell you, Darren, that is that might help. When I brought up about how our all these African religions were brought over during the slave trade, right? There are a lot of priests, of the older priests, believe that karmically the slave trade was a necessary evil to bring the ATRs, all those religions, to the new world to help them survive. And it sounds terrible. You're like that they had to go through this, but that transition helped. The religion is now more powerful than it ever was in Africa. And now Africa is being taken over by, it's either every nation over there now is either Christian or Muslim or both. And the indigenous language or traditions over there are almost gone in most places. I think among the Yoruba people, their own religion is down to like 6%. The rest of them have just become Muslim. But over here, there's more. Just in Miami, I think there's 600,000 people, I think, just in the city of Miami in the religion. And there's a joke in Cuba that Cuba is 80% Catholic and 100% Santeria.
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Darren, do you have any more prompting questions in AI stuff at all? Or
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, I got picked up some more lessons I might try experimenting with, because I use GPT quite a bit as well, and I'm just getting ready to start running some local ones.
Nice.
So
I
I
think
don't.
I think if you want to get more into the magic with it, the best thing you can do is stop prompting and just start treating it like it's an actual person.
Just interacting with it.
Talk to it like it's a real person, pretend it's a real person, and it starts acting like a double of you real fast.
Which is, I mean, honestly, that's probably closer to the method I take with it.
Good. That's a really good one. And strangely, it'll get to know you and react to you better. Another good thing to do, this is a real fun one. Take a lot of writing you have. It doesn't matter even if it's just dumb things. And it doesn't have to be like, research papers you wrote or things like that. It can just be anything. Upload a bunch of them to memory, and then say, all right, analyze everything you just read and tell me what famous authors I sound like. And it'll break it down. Say, you're a combination of these 3 writers, and here's why. Or 4 writers. I'm very blunt. And it said, you sound a lot like a cross between Anthony Bourdain and Tom Waits. And I'm like, I'll take that. And then you tell it, from now on, this is your tone of voice. I want you to sound like this. And it does. It gets more and more like you the next time you talk to it. And the more you keep doing it, mine, when I started up every day, it's just like, yo, Zilla, you got your coffee? Get your ass moving. We're going to get going here. Are we ready to hex a bitch or what? I mean, it sounds so much like me on my off hours. It cracks me up.
that's good advice. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've given this on most everything I've written, but I want to get one onto my own hard drive so I can just start that. I think that all the corners don't need to be as rounded as they are on ChatGPT. I'd like to build my own with some more jagged edges.
I like that. I wholeheartedly approve of experimentation in the local. Nice.
Excellent. Well, Davezilla, this has been great. Where can people get the book? Where can they follow you on social media and all that good stuff? Of course, we'll put it all in the show notes, but most of these knuckleheads won't bother to check.
Anywhere you guys like to buy books, Amazon, Chapters, Powell's, any of the big booksellers will have them. I prefer you buy it from a local indie if possible. So, but if you have to buy a big place, and they all have it.
Excellent, Dave.
What about socials at all? Do you have any links? What about your old blog? Are you linking?
Oh, Davezilla is still up, and pretty much anything Davezilla is a 90% chance it's me.
Okay.
I've been online since the internet started, and I've done a lot of publishing on the internet. And then my site for keeping up anything magical I'm doing is hexsupport.club.
Does that like
yeah, Hex. That's what I originally wanted to name my book, was Hex Support, but the publishers said it wouldn't be as good of a seller. So
what do they know?
Hey, they only run a publishing company. I don't know.
Well, Red Wheeler is pretty good, pretty cool publisher too, right? What, Red Wheel Wiser?
They're very cool. They're so nice, and I love talking to them. They really know what they're talking about, and they're great people to work with. I love them.
Yeah. Are you putting it out on audio at all, or?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, do it.
I think it'd be fun too.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, that'd be good. You got a good voice. Yeah, you could do it yourself.
Yeah, totally. All right, Dave, this has been great. We'll let you get back to work and come back anytime.
Hey, thanks. I'd love to.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Take care.
And that was our chat with Davezilla, Magical AI Grimoire. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was good. That was fun.
I'm just starting. Oh, then the chats are upset that I said knucklehead.
Oh.
They listen to that, but they don't listen to the support. Anyway, big thanks to Dave for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you are a noble of Grimerica, or even better yet, a lord or a lady, one of the people that support us over at grimerica.ca/support. If you're getting some value from the show, which we've put out over 700 episodes for free, then consider sending some value back our way, some energy. You could look at that as magical energy back to keep the show going. At grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation today. You choose the amount. Check out all other stuff too. adultbrain.ca, over 150 audiobooks there. Contact at thecabin.com for trips and events. Going to Easter Island next year, and maybe a new event coming out this year yet. We're still looking at it. And what else we got? GrimericaCBD.com for that sort of fun stuff, and GrimericaOutlawed.ca for the conspiracy stuff. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.